I'm Southampton Village Mayor Bill Manger, and I come to this village hall almost every day and enjoy working with my colleagues here. This beautiful building, constructed in 1911, was built as a municipal center after Southampton Village is incorporated in 1894. The former building once housed the post office. That original structure was later moved to the corner of Elm Street and Powell, where it still stands today as the restaurant T-Bar. This building was designed by F. Burrell Hoffman in 1911, and 5 years later, he designed Villa Vizcaya in the Coconut Grove section of Miami, which is now a National Historic Landmark. In its early years, Village Hall has also been home to the telephone exchange and bank, and many will remember it as the Village Police Station up until the early 2000s. It's always been a hub of community life here in Southampton. Village Hall was in dire need of renovation, so we got to work. We had people come in and take the lead paint off, strip it down. We had to have some of the wood carving refabricated by our excellent DPW staff, and then it was all repainted after it was primed, and it looks almost the way it did in 1911. I restored the half-round window on the third floor, which had been closed up when it was actually part of the men's locker room of the police station, and we added back the angled flag off of the third floor balcony. So it really does look like images of the early 20th century. Inside, we reconfigured space to create 2 offices out of 1, added sound deadening panels, and refreshed the hallway, foyer, and restrooms. Damaged floors and walls were repainted, and we refreshed the mayor's office. This is the renovated mayor's office that still has the photographs of every mayor that has served this village since 1894. The kiosk outside continues to be a trusted source of community news. And inside, our friendly staff helps residents with everything from beach passes to birth certificates, and our building department is housed on the 2nd floor, headed by our buildings department inspector, Chris Talbot. It is a helpful and friendly place, thanks in large part to a great staff who really care about residents and their needs. The Rogers Mansion, formerly the home of Samuel Parish, is a beloved landmark in the village of Southampton. This property holds 377 years of history. Farmers, whaling captains, doctors, lawyers, and merchants have all called this place home. It began in 1648 when William Rogers was granted 9 acres by the town of Southampton when the village was laid out. In 1943, the village partnered with the Southampton Colonial Society, now today the Southampton History Museum, to renovate this and keep it as a museum in the heart of Southampton Village. With $500,000 from New York State's Environmental Protection Fund grant program for parks and $700,000 from the village, we began the restoration. It is of paramount importance to restore and preserve such history. The work that we're doing now was undertaken in part by a grant from New York State, and the money is being spent on restoring the exterior of the building, but we had to do extensive restoration work here where part of the wall had deteriorated so far that it had to be rebuilt. But we're on track to have this ready for this summer. On this property's centuries-old story lies the story of Southampton itself, and you can see it in the original businesses that used to line the main streets here in the village, such as Hildreth's, dating back to 1842. And this is preserved today for generations to come and view at the History Museum in the heart of Southampton Village. This incredible structure was built by Samuel Parish in 1897, a Quaker attorney and Southampton's most well-known benefactor. This building was originally built in 1897 by Samuel Parish to house his art collection. It later became the Parish Art Museum that then moved to Watermill in 2012. I remember as a child running through the Caesar's Garden here on the east side of the Southampton Art Center. It actually contains 18 replicas of Roman emperors that are from the Vatican in Rome. In 2013, this building under Mark Epley became the Southampton Art Center, which it is today, with Christina Strasfield as the director.
Welcome to the Southampton Art Center. And the mission statement of the Southampton Art Center is building community through the arts. And we are excited because we are open year-round for the community that's here and for all the visitors who come to Southampton. We welcome everyone. Would you like to go inside?
Yes, but I'd like to say before we go inside, something about the roof. So 25 years ago, when I was a village trustee, it was recognized that the roof on this building had to be replaced. At the time, nobody wanted to spend the money and go to the trouble to replace it. I decided it was time to replace that roof because Christina had to put out buckets in the gallery space when it rained to catch the rainwater that was coming into the building. And it was actually doing some damage to the replicas of the Elgin marbles from the Parthenon in Greece. But we put this new roof on, and it's Vermont slate, authentic Vermont slate that was brought down here, so it recreated the historic appearance of the roof on this building. The village has been restoring its assets. Here in the Southampton Arts Center, we spent $500,000 to put a new Vermont slate roof on it. We also put a new Vermont slate roof on the Veterans Hall on Pond Lane. That cost another $100,000. But the village is spending this money so that, again, we can retain these historic structures for future generations to enjoy. And you have to maintain these pieces of the village just the way you maintain your own home. So this museum, this Center for Art, is now in excellent condition. And Christina Strasfield can tell you a little bit about what's going on here at the Southampton Art Center. Christina, you came over from Guildhall in East Hampton to the Southampton Art Center, and you are now in charge of the exhibits that go on here. Could you tell us a little bit about this current exhibition you have?
This is East End Collected 8. This is an exhibition that features 28 local artists, most of them living out here in our community full time. And we had 600 people at the opening celebrating the artist of our community.
That's fantastic, Christina. To get 600 people here for this exhibit of local artists in Southampton is really wonderful. So, Christina, this is a lot of fun. The red ladders with the bikes going up and down. I mean, it's actually perfect for Southampton, where a lot of people like to bike ride, and we've been putting in additional bike lanes. But maybe you could tell us a little bit about this work.
So this is David Carigliano's work, and it's so exciting because the ladder is here, and the bicycles are going up and going down. So again, up the ladder to our wonderful new roof, and going down to the village so you can walk around on all the new, drive around on all the new bike paths, which is so wonderful. My daughter loves that especially. We've got a great program coming up this summer. We have American Independency, which is a show of flags of John Monsky's work.
Excellent.
The first time we're ever going to show close to 100 flags from George Washington's time, Abraham Lincoln, George Patton, Amelia Earhart, astronauts who went to the moon and brought these flags back. So it's really going to be a fantastic, fantastic opportunity for our community to have American history come alive within the walls of the Southampton Art Center.
And that's fantastic to have so much of American history in the heart of the village. And next year is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. So it's perfect timing.
This exhibition is a precursor for the celebration that we're going to be having here in Southampton. So a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for the village and for the whole community.
Christina, thank you so much for showing us around this gallery space today. And you're doing a fantastic job here at the Southampton Art Center in the heart of the village, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Another priority of the village is public safety. Certainly, that's one of the most important things when it comes to our residents and visitors. I'm here at the Southampton Volunteer Ambulance, and here's our Second Assistant Chief, Colby Gill.
Mr. Mayor.
And he's a fantastic leader here at the ambulance, and maybe you could just tell us a little bit about the crew that you have that work here.
So on staff, we have a multitude of paramedics, some per diem, and we have 2 full-time employees. We have 3 ambulances, 6 first responder vehicles, and then we have a rehab trailer that allows us to operate in special operations.
But what's most important is almost 60 of the people that work out of this building are volunteers, giving of their time freely to serve the village and its residents and visitors. This is the newest ambulance that the village purchased. We used a large part from the American Recovery Act, some of the COVID money, almost $400,000, so the village only had to spend $35,000 for this rig. But subsequently, we purchased another ambulance modeled after this one, where we are going to have to spend over $400,000. But again, we want to have the best equipment that we can here for our volunteer responders and for anyone in need of an ambulance at any time. So Colby, tell me a little bit about how we plan to acquire this ambulance and the research that went into this specific model and all the components that it has part of it.
Absolutely. So we put together a committee of about 6 people, ex-chiefs to newest members, some of our oldest members with the most experience. And they did research for about 1.5 years, going to different ambulance agencies, looking at newer ambulances, older ambulances, and compiling all the good and bad features that we would need to put together a rig that was best for Southampton Village.
And I understand this is modeled after one that you saw in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
That's correct. We saw something very similar to this in Fort Lauderdale. We mocked up something that would represent that, but better suited for our beach community here in Southampton Village, with how close we are to the hospital and all the different, atmospheres that we partake in.
Thank you so much, Colby. And again, I think it looks great in the new colors, the real vibrant green. It looks sharp for the village.
Absolutely. We're trying to make sure we are vibrant for the nice village we have.
Colby, it's great. This ambulance looks fantastic, but I do have one question for you. Why do we have an image of a blue stork at the top of the ambulance?
So the blue stork represents a child that was being born. In this case, it was a boy. Last year, we responded to a call on Hill Street. A woman was in an active maternity. We got her in the back of our ambulance, and right as we got to the hospital doors, the baby was born.
Colby, that's a great story, and it's great to have you and these ambulances here for everybody in the village.
I couldn't agree more.
So Colby, tell me, I mean, you have all the latest equipment in this, but there was a big design feature that changed in this ambulance since our former ambulances. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So the new design feature of this ambulance is actually the side door. It might seem a little insignificant to some, but we moved the door forward. It's called a door forward design, allowing the ambulance to have a ton more room inside the ambulance. It allows us to be safer. One, it allows us to be strapped in better and have better access to our patient, but it also gives us more access to our equipment. It's better for the patient itself. We have better access to the patient. So overall, it just really opens up the ambulance, allows us to operate better.
It's really fantastic, Colby. I mean, this does feel like a lot larger than our previous ambulances. And I think, again, with that change in the design feature, we really have one of the best ambulances here on the East End.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that. Most agencies actually came to look at this rig, how new it was, and the important new feature we have with the door forward design. We were a staple in the start of that on the East End.
We're cutting edge here in Southampton Village.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Colby. I'm Mayor Bill Manger, Mayor of Southampton Village, and I have with me today our Fire Chief, Polis Walker. And I'm going to do a few questions with him just to talk about what we're doing with the fire department and then some of the not-for-profit aspects that they have to raise some money for different services. But why don't you tell us a little bit, Polis, you just came off of the fire at Westhampton Pines. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about your experience there, because I know there were about 80 fire departments that responded to that fire, and I'd just like to hear from you what you saw there.
So that was a really big fire. We haven't had one, that serious in a long time. So like you said, we had about 80 departments there, and it was a very, very involved fire. It was fires that took over the woods that started, I think, started on the west side of the Pines and started to work its way east. And when we deployed right straight into the fire with one of our brush trucks. We have 2 brush trucks. And actually during the fires, one of our brush trucks actually got a flat in there because of some debris that was in there. And they fixed it on the site while we were there. We also had one of our engines that were mutual aid. So when we were in the brush fires, there's other areas of Westhampton that had to be taken care of. So one of our engines had to respond to a house fire that was actually involved in the Westhampton area where they went and put out. A lot of people don't know about that because we concentrated so much on the brush fires, but there was an actual house fire in Westhampton where our guys deployed, had to go inside of the house, save the house. And a lot of people aren't familiar that actually happened, but our firefighters put out a house fire in Westhampton doing Westhampton brush fires.
That's great, Polis. And I know that those brush trucks are amazing. They're almost like tanks. They go right through the trees and take them out, and you can access anywhere in those pine barrens. And that was really, obviously, you needed that kind of equipment. So I'm glad that we're able to provide that kind of equipment to all of you with the fire department.
Yes, it's very special equipment, and you have to be very skilled to navigate those equipment because you can't just drive it through the woods like you would drive a car. You have to navigate all of the debris that's in the woods. So the guys that drive those trucks are specialists at driving those trucks. So they navigate them real slow, and then the guys on the back of the trucks also are skilled at putting out the fire. You don't just spray water. There's a technique to spraying that water, whether you use a fan pattern or you do a direct jet stream. Those patterns are used to actually put those fires out. So it's a technique for the driver. It's a technique for the guys in the back on the nozzles.
Well, and I know that you spend a lot of time training, and so does the whole department. Maybe you could tell us all about, the amount of training that goes into being a volunteer fireman.
So we do a lot of training, and we train different times of the season. Like with the upcoming season now, we got a summer season coming up. So it gets really, really hot outside. So we have to fill our trucks with waters and hydrations and ice and stuff to keep the guys cool. But we go to Yaphank. That's where our training center is. And we have motor vehicle extrication equipment that we have on our trucks. And we go to Yaphank Training Center and train to get people out of cars.
And as you said, summer's upon us, and so it's going to get very busy here on the East End. I mean, you get a lot more calls during the summer months than you do in January and February. So maybe you could just talk about, the responsiveness that you have to all the calls that you get throughout the fire district, because the fire district that you cover is larger than just the village of Southampton. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yes, so in the summer, we get a lot of people out here, and we don't just cover the village. We go from the East End of Southampton out just before you get to Bridgehampton, and then we go as far west as the canal, where we've had motor vehicle accidents there, and we do a lot of different excavations, as far, like I said, car accidents, house fires. We do have pine barrens over there also that we work with, so we do a lot of work in both of those areas. So it's a big area that we cover. Also out toward North Sea. Down Dune Road. Also, we have to be careful with water rescues in the course of the summer. We have a lot of people on our beaches. We have a lot of boat activity out on our beaches. And not only do we have the ocean, but we also have our local ponds that we have people that are navigating through. So we have to get out there and be careful and make sure that we have men and women. We have women in our fire department also out there working to make sure that people are safe in those areas.
And I know that many of your members are skilled with the jaws of life that you need to use to extricate people from badly mangled cars in car wrecks. And I've seen some of you guys doing some of that work. Maybe you could just talk about a little bit of that and how many of the members are trained with the jaws of life.
So we have a specialty team when it comes to the jaws of life. We have what we call a rescue squad. The rescue squad, they train specifically with vehicle extrications. And what we'll do sometimes is at our training center at the antique barn, we'll take two cars, smash them together, flip them upside down, and we actually put someone in to simulate a car accident. And we have to figure out how to get that person out of the car safely. We also have to work with the EMTs, because once we open up the doors or get into the car, the EMTs have to then come in and get that person set up to come out of the car so that we don't do more damage to that individual taking them out. So we do a lot of training down at the training center, down on at the antique barn, at extricating people from cars.
Yeah. And I know you've also recently had something that you did at the intermediate school, a community, educational event.
Yes.
Could you tell us about some of those events that you do at our schools and other locations?
So when we go to our schools, what we try and do is educate our children on safety and give them tips on what they should do if there's a fire in their home. We also try and get them to understand that we, the firefighters, are friendly. Because when we go into their homes, we have on all this gear. We look like monsters. We don't want them to be scared when we come in there. We want them to know that we're safe and that we're coming in to help them. So we let them know when we put on our equipment and let them see it, let them touch it, let them feel it. And we also go in there so that we can recruit our juniors. We have a juniors program. So the juniors are at the intermediate school, and we go in there to try and recruit them. We talk to them about, how exciting it can be to be a firefighter. And sometimes, they want to know and touch and feel and see those things. And while we're talking about the safety of your home and making sure you have fire extinguishers, letting them know what it sounds like when you hear a fire detector go off. They hear that beep, beep sound. That's to let them know, hey, you got to go notify your parents. Hey, you have to find that safe zone. Make sure that you have something in your window that lets us know that there's a child in that window, or your sister or brother, your siblings. Make sure that there's something there. So when we come there, we know that that's a space that we make sure we make priority for.
And then you also have some fundraising events for the juniors. I know you have a pancake breakfast.
Yes.
But you also have a chicken and ribs dinner that raises some money for, and why don't you just tell us what that raises money for?
So the chicken and rib dinner is a big fundraiser that we do, and it raises money for a burn center. The burn center is a place where firefighters are across the island, if they're seriously hurt, can go there and they can receive treatments without having to pay. That's what we do a lot of those fundraisers for. We also take some of that money and fund our juniors program, because again, our juniors are a part of our future. And we do right now have 3 of our juniors who have graduated from the juniors program are now full-fledged firemen in Southampton Fire Department, and recently went and took the test in New York City to become paid firefighters. So they've actually come through our program, and that pancake breakfast helps to fund that so that we can then go into the schools to educate our children to get them to also come and be firefighters.
And then finally, I was just going to ask you, how many volunteers do we have right now in the fire department?
Right now, we have 140 volunteers. We have about 80 active firefighters that are every day ready to go, ready to come and deploy, ready to get out and help their community.
Yeah. Listen, Polis, I appreciate you coming in here today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, something about the fire department here.
Thank you so much.
We engaged Johnson Controls to make the village much more sustainable and environmentally friendly in terms of how much power we're drawing from the grid. Here at the ambulance barn, we installed these overhead solar panels over the parking lot, and including over a new parking lot that we created at the request of the volunteer ambulance workers who said that they needed some more space here. But once fully operational, these solar panels in this parking lot will make it net zero the ambulance barn and the police station over my right shoulder here, so that again, it's fully sustainable with the solar power. We are also installing solar panels on top of the Department of Public Works buildings on Willow Street. So these things are all coming online and will all be, again, making the village a much more sustainable and green place for the future. Just up the street, the Southampton Playhouse has opened after 5 years of being closed. The village landmarked its iconic front facade and marquee. Now you can see state-of-the-art films, even in IMAX, at this historic treasure, which was opened in 1932. Hello, I'm Bill Manger, Mayor of the Village of Southampton, and I'm joined today by Eric Cohn, who's the Artistic Director of the Southampton Playhouse, which is otherwise known as the movie theater on Hill Street in Southampton, and it's finally reopened after it was closed for almost 5 years. So Eric, thank you so much for being here. It's so exciting to have movies back in Southampton Village. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit how you got involved and what's been going on over there so far. I mean, the most exciting thing to me is that you have an IMAX screen, which is the only IMAX screen on the whole east end of Long Island. So that's fantastic. But
it's a really good starting point. And also importantly, you've been there to see movies. We're trying to be there for everyone. I mean, movie theaters are sort of the great uniting cultural force in a way, because no matter where you are, what your background is, what your age is, you could probably find something in a movie theater that aligns with your interests. And I love that we have a theater that's been there since the 1930s, because we have generations of people in this town who grew up going to it. So I was a journalist and a critic for almost 20 years for a film publication called IndieWire. I was a producer for a little bit, and got connected to a few folks who were part of the board when the theater transitioned from its earlier identity as a multiplex to become a nonprofit. And really those conversations early on were just sort of about how do we reach out to this big amorphous thing, which is the film industry, and say, hey, we want to create something new and special, not just another movie theater, but something that can go beyond that. And that was just so exciting for me. It was almost like this blank slate, except that it had this foundation of the community being so invested in it from the start.
Yeah, and I think I maybe mentioned, I saw my first movie ever at that movie theater. I think it was 1971. I was really young. And it was a Steve McQueen movie called Le Mans. And he played a race car driver. And anyway, I went with my father. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I've been happy to go back to that movie theater over and over again. And this year I did go back, and you actually showed a movie from 1932, Trouble in Paradise, which was a lot of fun. It was great that you showed a movie from the year that the building was built. Are you going to do more of that going forward, or tell me a little bit more about your programming?
Yeah, absolutely. I was really excited to have that screening. It's one of our first repertory offerings. It was part of this larger program that we did called The Spirit of 1932. It was all films from 1932, which is a great year for movies. Pre-code Hollywood. It was the Great Depression, so people went to the movies for escapism to not think about the outside world. And the thing about these kinds of series is that we can bring them back anytime. So this is not the last time you will hear of that series at the Playhouse. But also very exciting on the horizon is that Gary Cooper, an amazing movie star, spent a lot of time
in Southampton. In fact, he's buried in the Southampton cemetery right over off the highway.
That's right next to his wife. So this is a bit of a hidden secret of Hollywood history in a way. Buried in Southampton, spent time in Southampton, and was this amazing eclectic movie star. So we are establishing our inaugural Gary Cooper Festival at the beginning of May.
That's great.
May
That's excellent.
9th to 11th. Maria Cooper Janis, his daughter, who has a place in East Hampton, she will be joining us. We're going to screen High Noon, which is one of the greatest westerns ever. We're going going to show Ball of Fire, which is a really fun screwball comedy. And we're going to show Pride of the Yankees, which is the first great sports movie.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to do it every year because, in a way, these films are a jumping off point for so many different conversations and things to talk about with respect to where the world was then, where we are now. And so that's going to be a really exciting way for us to sort of merge this big historical element of film viewing with the history of Southampton itself.
Right, and the theater has 4 different screens. Again, I think it's great that you're not for profit. So aside from the IMAX, I know you have one screen that you can actually rent out for private use and private viewings. It has its own separate entrance, its own concession stand. Then you have a third screen, and then the 4th screen is in a room where actually the seats can retract, and you can use that space for other types of live events. So maybe you could share with me some of your ideas of what you might do in that space.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important for people to understand that we're more than a movie theater all across the board, and I think that all movie theaters need to be operating in that way now, because we need this other space that's not work, it's not home, it's not a restaurant or a bar, it's something else. So we have this beautiful lounge area, it's a bookstore, we have a green room, we have different spaces that can be used in different kinds of ways. And the 4th theater, what we call Theater 4, has 150 seats that come out entirely. So we can do whatever we want there. We can throw parties, we can do birthday parties there and things like that, but we can also do live music, we can do stand-up comedy, and those are the kinds of conversations that we're having with people, is sort of how do we make sure that this space isn't just, a rental space, which of course it is, but a rental space and an event space that can sort of augment the other programming that we're doing throughout.
Well, I think stand-up comedy would be fantastic. I remember when they actually had some at the Southampton Inn back in the day, and so I think it'd be great to bring some stand-up comedy back to Southampton Village. And you really have become a hub, a cultural hub at the western end of the village, and we really appreciate all that you and the Playhouse are doing to again revitalize the western side of the village. We've had a lot of new businesses move in there. I was just at Limoncello, the pizza parlor that just opened, that came from Montauk. Village Pizza from Montauk is now right there, so it's going to be great. People can grab pizza before or after a movie.
Right.
I think it's a great, it's a small town America. It's really fantastic. Tell us again what some of your vision is, for the Playhouse going forward here then.
Well, we want to be something for everyone in the sense that there are different lanes you can choose. So if you want to see a big new blockbuster, we have, as you say, the only IMAX on the east end of Long Island, and pretty much anything that you might expect to be there is going to be there. But we also want to double down on the things that people really like. So concert documentaries. We had a really wonderful turnout for the Led Zeppelin documentary earlier this year. We just had Pink Floyd in Pompeii was a huge hit for us. So we're looking to do a bigger sort of showcase of that side of things. We also have this amazing parking lot, so we're going to do a lot of fun outdoor stuff on that front. When the racing documentary with Brad Pitt opens this summer, F1, we're talking about doing a big car show and a whole series of classic car movies, including Le Mans potentially. So you might have to come by.
Might have to come back and see it again.
Exactly.
No, well, that's great, and really, we really appreciate how many people now are working over there. It seems you have a real full team now. So who else do you have working?
I mean, we're still small, but we're growing constantly, and I really love working with our staff because we have a lot of folks in the area who have their own memories of the theater, from our projectionists to the folks at the concession desk. So there's myself, and then there's Maria Batsakos, who was at Film at Lincoln Center for about 15 years, and overseeing kind of the administrative side of things. We have an assistant. We have a great theater manager, Nick Lane, who used to work with the Hampton Arts Center, an assistant manager who used to work at Bay Street. So we're pulling from different areas to make sure that the foundation of this place really feels like it belongs in Southampton. It's tied to the history in Southampton. And there's just so much enthusiasm.
Yeah, there really is. And I know I've spoken to so many people that are so happy that the movies are back in Southampton, and they're looking forward to going into the Playhouse this summer and getting back to the movies.
Yeah, and they'll see a lot of me. I mean, I write this weekly newsletter which folks can subscribe to, and I introduce a lot of screenings, and I always tell people, if you subscribe to their newsletter, you have my email address. Write me, tell me what you want to see, what you like, what we could do better at, so we can do the best we can.
And I hope when they have the Hamptons Film Festival this fall that your venue, the Playhouse in Southampton, will be part of that that film festival.
Yeah, me too. I love them. They're great neighbors, and I love that festival, and the programming is first rate. So I'm really hopeful about those conversations as well.
Well, Eric Cohn, it's so great to have you here. Thank you so much for coming in and speaking to me about what's going on at the Playhouse, and I appreciate all the hard work you guys are putting into it to really make it a cultural hub here in Southampton Village.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate your support.
Here we are in Agawam Park. Behind me, Lake Agawam. We're about to start cleaning up the waters of that iconic lake in the center of our village. It is very important that we provide for sustainability in the village and take care of our village assets just the way we take care of our own homes. Together, this is the fabric of our village. It tells the story of who we were, who we are, and who we want to be for generations to come. The village of Southampton has as its goal to be a place, a community, where preservation and progress go hand in hand. Thank you very much.